So one of the things they like to do with similar triangles is to combine it with algebra. Okay, again, in geometry, we always try to go back and review algebra. So first, let's start by reminding you of the geometry. In similar triangles, corresponding sides of the similar triangles are in proportion. And when you have a proportion, POM equals PO. All right, so let's take a look at some examples. Okay, number one, just to review some algebra, solve for x. So I have this proportion, and I'm going to get the product of the means. So POM is x minus 4 times x minus 3 equals PO, the product of the extremes. All right, oh, the reverse. So, oops. All right, so I meant to put extremes on the left. Product of the extremes is the product of the means here. So the means are 6 times x. Okay, so now it's time for you guys to, develop some faster skills with algebra. You do x times x. Write down the answer. You do negative 4 times negative 3. Okay, write down the answer. Then you do x times negative 3. And then you do negative 4 times x. Depending on your algebra teacher, perhaps they did it like this. That's fine as well. All right, what you do end up getting is that these are like terms. So we get x squared minus 7x plus 12 is 6x. Again, from the beginning of the year, I kept doing this with you. This is a quadratic equation. So you have to get it equal to 0. So you have x squared minus 13x plus 12 is 0. Okay, you do need to have some number sense besides just using the calculators. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to negative 13. Some of you may know right away that those numbers are negative 12 and negative 1. Now, if you're using your calculator, just to remind you to you go to y equals, type in 12 divided by x, and then go to second table, second graph, right? Look in the table for the pair of factors that adds to negative 13. So anyway, so we get x is 12 and x is 1. Those are your solutions. Now, what you're supposed to do that you'll do in algebra next year is you're supposed to try these solutions in the denominator to make sure that they don't make the denominator 0. All right, let's take a look at a proportion that has to do with geometry. Well, let's say we have this diagram. Okay, so this is example 2. I have this small triangle. I have this larger triangle. Let's call this X, Y, Z, A, B, C. That's 5, that's 12, this is 15. So I give you this diagram. Now they'll give you a bunch of words before a Regents question. So it will be worded like this, something like this. In the accompanying diagram of triangle XYZ and triangle ABC, angle X is congruent to angle A, and angle Y is congruent to angle B. Okay, if XY is 5, and YZ is 12, and AB is 15, find the measure of BC. So we already know that these triangles are similar, okay? So the algebra only exists because of the geometry. If these triangles were not similar, you wouldn't have any geometry, and then you wouldn't have any algebra. So geometry is the motivating factor to do any algebra here. Okay, so these are similar by angle, angle. Okay, so you're going to set up a proportion. I'm going to call BC whatever I want. Doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just call it little a. Okay, how's that? Lots of times they do that in geometry because it's across from capital A. So we're going to do corresponding sides, right? XY corresponds to AB. Then you go back to the triangle that has XY. And you have ZY corresponds to CB. Now I'm just going to put in the numbers. So that is 5 to 15, 12 to A. So this here is using CSSTP. And now I'm going to cross multiply. All right, 15 times 12, I believe, is 180. And then divide by 5. This is just basic algebra now. And get your answer. Okay, so here we have, in this line, we're doing POM equals PO. That's because we've already established that we have a proportion. Once you have a proportion, then POM equals PO. And you only get a proportion because you have similar triangles. So it has to go in that order. Similar triangles, proportion. Right? CSSTP. Then POM equals PO. Cross products equal. Okay, that's the order that it must go in. There's a sequence. Let's take a look at one more geometry question. Turns into an algebra question. In triangle RST. Oh, if triangle RST is similar to triangle ABC. Now remember, these are in corresponding order, kids. Okay, so R and A are in the same position. Then S and B and T and C. Those angles have to be congruent because when you have similar triangles, the corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so continuing along, they tell us that the measure of angle A is expressed as x squared minus 8x degrees. The measure of angle C is expressed as 4x minus 5 degrees. And the measure of angle R is expressed as 5x plus 30 degrees. And they tell us to find the measure of angle C. So pay attention to what the question is. We're going to have to go back to this when we're done. All right, so angle, right? Angle A and angle R are congruent. A and R. So the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle R. Okay, the reason for this is because in similar triangles, the corresponding angles are congruent. So set these expressions equal. Okay, again, what kind of an equation is this? It's one of my pet peeves when kids don't know that it's called a quadratic equation because of the squared. Bring everything to the left. Okay, Okay, by now you should just be able to change the sign and bring it over to the left. Okay. So now we're going to factor this. So if you need to use your calculator, you would do negative 30 divided by x, second graph, to access the table. You're looking for the pair of factors that adds to negative 13. Okay, my generation, here's how we did it, by the way. We would just go like this. We would list the factors. Negative 1, 30. 1, negative 30. 2, negative 15. Negative 2, 15. 3, negative 10. Negative 3, 10. Negative 5, 6. 5, negative 6. That's what my generation did. And then we just found the pair that adds to negative 13. And you didn't even have to list them all if you realized, okay? So that's how you do the mental math. I only show you the calculator because I don't want to shortchange your technology skills. But I would like you to try to do some mental math. Okay, but if you don't like yourself to do mental math, then there's nothing I can do about that, okay? So you get your answers, and then we have to check them in the context of the problem, though, kids, right? So if you try to take negative 2 and substitute it into angle C, you're going to get the measure of angle C is negative 8 minus 5, which is negative 13 degrees. Okay, that makes no sense. So you're going to reject the negative 2. So the measure of angle C is 4 times 15 minus 5, or 60 minus 5, which is 55 degrees. So that is your answer, 55 degrees. All right, guys, that concludes this video. Short and sweet. Thank you.